Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel where we talk about the things we love like gaming, shows, and anime. Today I got an episode dedicated to all you big Resident Evil fans out there. We all hate it when we get a good looking game that gets announced and for some reason it never gets released. And Resident Evil had its share of unfinished games, so I'd like to show you 3 Resident Evil games that got cancelled. But before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to Andreas Encarnacion, Simone Prados, Smallbus 32, Zacharia Matthews, White Bolt Benjamin Navarro, Zelda King 5291, and Daniel Obeso. I gotta say that last one looks pretty badass. Thank you guys for showing your support and liking the channel. Now, let's begin. One thing I want to add is that I'm only going to talk about cancelled games. This has nothing to do with the beta games or demos. That's for another list. So for starters, let's talk about the first Resident Evil game that was cancelled. Resident Evil for the Game Boy Color. In 1999, Capcom selected a company known as Hot Gen Studios to create a port version of the original Resident Evil. Now the gameplay they went with was a direct conversion of the PlayStation version, and surprisingly it looks like they did a great job with it. If I knew this was supposed to be how the Game Boy Color version of Resident Evil was supposed to look like, I might have possibly been pretty upset about receiving Resident Evil Gaiden instead. I've always been a portable gamer more than a console gamer, so I'm always going to be surprised with the results of a portable game no matter how old it is. I take attention to detail and I give them prompts for the things they come up with. So here, I gotta say I wouldn't have ever thought that this would be possible for a Game Boy Color game. But anyways, the game is pretty identical to the original Resident Evil PlayStation version. You get to choose whether you want to play as Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine. And new additions were also planned, including a greater variety of enemies and the ability to disarm traps. What traps? I don't recall any traps except for the Jill sandwich trap. A new save feature was also in development, removing the ink ribbons and having you find the save points instead. But even though the game turned out great for a Game Boy Color game, Capcom turned it down right away. Their official statement claimed that they were not confident that the product would have made both consumers and Capcom happy. But luckily, even though the game got cancelled, fans have been able to try it out for themselves, thanks to the miracles of game ROMs online. ROM dumps have been recovered, and there are 2 versions of the game that have been leaked, known as Cartridge 1 and Cartridge 2. Cartridge 2 is an older version of the game and is considered more buggy, and I guess people prefer the Cartridge 1 version more. Now, the sad part is that this game was never complete, so it has many bugs, and to top it off, you can't complete the game, as it was never finished. So instead of giving us this game, we got Resident Evil Gaiden. Is that bad? No. As I've mentioned before in my review for Resident Evil Gaiden, it is a good game. So honestly, they should have simply just given us both games. I mean, why not? The games are great for us Resident Evil fans who want to take them on the go, but when Capcom says no, it means no, even when the game is over 90% finished. Sorry to all fans who wanted Resident Evil on the Game Boy Color and Resident Evil 1.5. Now let's talk about the next cancelled game, Resident Evil 0. No, this isn't the GameCube version you all know and love. This is Resident Evil 0 for the Nintendo 64. The console where the game was originally supposed to be on. So why was this game not released for the Nintendo 64? Well, apparently the game was too long, and the Nintendo 64's cartridge space can only reach up to 64 megabytes. So instead of spending a lot of money on cutting down the game, Capcom decided to wait and rework on the game, but this time on the GameCube. There isn't much I can say about this game as they only released a small teaser trailer and to demonstrate the beginning of the game. It is very identical to the GameCube version, so all it is a graphics difference. Now there is one particular difference about the game that's found in the footage. When we see the body of Edward Dewey, who is one of the members of Bravo Team, in the Nintendo 64 version he is missing a hand. Reasons to why he's missing his right hand is because they wanted to connect the hand that was found by Joseph Frost from the intro of the first game with this. Only after you see the footage, Edward is holding an injured arm, but it looks like it's still there. Only it's covered in blood. My guess is they were trying to make it look like he was missing his right hand, but could not remove the hand polygon. So that's as much info as I can give for the cancelled version of the Nintendo 64 version. No idea why they couldn't just simply make it for the PlayStation. I mean, they only gave us Resident Evil 2 on the N64, skipping the first game, so giving us the prequel was going to be very confusing to those who own the Nintendo 64 version. So now let's talk about the final cancelled game. It isn't Resident Evil 1.5, as that was merely a beta version of the Resident Evil 2 game, and that alone deserves its own video. So the final game I'll talk about is Resident Evil Portable for the PSP. In 2009, we received an announcement for the game, and the fact that this was a cancelled game was not the only bad news. This game got little to no information given, so the details about what it was going to be about are unknown. They mentioned that this game was going to be a completely different version than the other Resident Evil games, but the only thing we received was just the announcement. The image they gave us showed zombies standing in the city. Could this mean that the game was going to be based in the middle of the Raccoon City outbreak? All we can do is guess and try to come up with many theories to what the image shows. A picture can tell 1,000 stories, so this isn't going to be easy. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, put a thumbs up. And if there are any other videos you would love to request, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to shout out a video request or you want to ask me a question for the next Q&A video, I strongly recommend you post it on my Facebook page. And if you want to see more of my videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button because it really helps me out a lot. And I'll be sure to let you know when I post up more videos. This is Score saying, have an awesome day.